Yamaha's newest and most technically advanced supersport motorcycle to date that in some regions will hold the top spot in their lineup, the R9, up against one of the last great holdouts of the legendary 600cc class that holds a world of pedigree, the ZX6R. Today we are going new versus old school in a battle between two motorcycles that aim and claim to do the same thing, rip up both the street and the track, but do it in different ways. G'day, I'm Kwackajack, and welcome back to another episode of the Versus series. This is where we put two similar bikes which you may be looking to choose between under the magnifying glass for a comprehensive specs comparison and really get down to the nitty gritty to find out what the differences are. We'll be analysing the styling, claimed engine and power specs, exhaust notes, weight, suspension and ergos, brakes, features and price to see where they stack up, and if the new boy from Yammy has enough to take down one of the last old guard 600cc legends. While it may seem like it is going one way, there is a big factor we'll discuss at the end that may just sway the outcome. Before we get started though, if you do enjoy these types of comparisons, please make sure to leave a like and hit subscribe so others who might be having the same questions can find their answers too. Alright, let's get straight into it and have a look at the styling of these two. The brand new and upcoming Yamaha R9 uses the same design language as the rest of the R lineup. From the side it looks like an R1 and from the front like an R7. Speaking of the R1 though, in European markets it is saying bye-bye, and this new guy will be the top dog in their lineup for the time being. It's got those big winglets that seem to be all the rage on new bikes today, and while I personally think they look a bit silly, they claim that they'll reduce the front wheel lift by around 7% in a straight line and be the most aerodynamically efficient bike they've ever made. The Kawasaki ZX6R on the other hand has been around for a long time and is a staple in the class, having just had a facelift recently for 2024. It features Kawi's latest supersport design language with a more furrowed and angrier look at the front end, and a forehead dimple in the form of its ram air mount. It's just distinctive enough to set it apart from the previous generation with its sharper front end and side end lines. At the end of the day, styling does come down to personal preference, and there is no clear winner here, with both looking sporty and aggressive to match the purpose of the bike. Personally, I hate the current trend of tacking on winglets for the sake of a few percentage of whatever, especially if it's not an actual race bike. So for me, the Kawi has the better overall design, but let me know what you think. Onto the engines. This is going to be one of the biggest differentiators between the two. Both are meant to be the type of bikes that are just as competent on the street as they are on track, but we see them going about it in different ways. The new R9 is featuring an 890cc CP3 liquid-cooled 3-cylinder that comes from the MT09 and Tracer models. However, here it has had an ECU tune and optimized gear ratios. That means that it pumps out 117.3 horsepower at 10,000 RPM and 93 Nm of torque at 7,000. It's great we are finally seeing that motor carried over onto a fully fared bike because it's a very smooth and charismatic performer that should give you a great soundtrack. Traditionally, we see high revving inline 4s in this supersports class, and Yamaha are claiming to try and redefine that here with something different that has more street accessibility. Over on the Kawasaki, and it's business as usual. It has got the 636cc 4-stroke inline 4-cylinder engine that we have come to know and love for a while now. On the 2024 model, it produces 122 horsepower at 13,000 RPM and 69 Nm of torque at 11,000. That max power does go up to 127.5 horsepower at full chat with the ram air mount engaged though. We have seen the ZX6 become slightly muted compared to the older generations in terms of raw top-end rush and overall power due to emissions laws, but it does still have that high revving nature to it that is loved by many and favored on track. In terms of who wins here, it could go either way. The Yamaha does have around 5 less overall horsepower as standard, but does blow the Kawi away when it comes to torque, producing 24 more Newton meters. I think that will likely be a bigger and more notable difference for more riders, which is why I'm going to give the slightest of edges to the new R9. However, I will say there is definitely an appeal to the ZX6 with that high and fast revving inline 4. You don't really understand the appeal of one until you've had a chance to really wring one out. The Yamaha will be the punchier bike throughout the majority of the range, where the Kawasaki will of course favor you if you're keeping the revs up higher. At the end of the day though, both of these guys have great motors and would be a logical stepping stone for somebody upgrading from their first motorcycle. Now let's have a quick listen to those stock exhausts. on and we come to weight. Both companies are claiming these to be track-capable, nimble sport bikes and have put in the work to get the overall heft down. The Yamaha R9 is sitting on the road with a wet weight of 195 kilograms. And that's in part thanks to the fact that it's been built around a gravity cast aluminium delta box style frame, which is the lightest one ever on a Yamaha SuperSports model. The Kawasaki ZX6R is also quite a trim motorcycle, with it having a wet weight of 198 kilograms. So it is a 3 kilo difference in overall weight, which is pretty negligible and most likely due to the different sizes of the fuel tank capacity. The Kawi does have a 3 litre larger tank with a total capacity of 17 litres against the R9's 14. So with the same amount of fuel, I expect them to weigh about the same. On paper though, the Yamaha does win again here. Let's talk suspension and ergos. Each of these guys have a long history of delivering well-performing track motorcycles, and this is an area where they are allowed to flex. At the front end of the new R9 is a new generation 43mm KYB inverted fully adjustable fork, while at the back is a KYB single shock. Now these parts are specific to this new bike and really allow you to change it to your liking, with each side of the front forks being able to be adjusted individually. The seat places you up very tall at a height of 831mm, and the bars are clip-ons mounted under the top yoke. They claim a riding position sportier than the R7 but more relaxed than the R6 race. I'm confident that this thing will absolutely rip through the corners, and I'm glad they didn't just go down the easy route of slapping on the same bits as on the MT09 SP, even though that's definitely not a bad handling bike. The ZX6R for its suspension at the front has got 41mm fully adjustable Showa inverted big piston forks and a bottom link Unitrack fully adjustable gas charged Showa shock at the back. You're again sitting up high at 830mm with clip-on bars but in a more aggressive lean angle. Larger riders may feel a bit cramped here, but there is no denying that the 636 is an apex hunter. This thing has proven its worth over the years, and there's a reason why it's one of the last ones remaining of a dying breed. It performs. We can't give a definite answer on which one is better until the release of the R9 next year, but going off the spec sheet, it does have the fatter and most up-to-date bits and bobs. But we know for sure that the Kawi is an exceptionally well-handling unit. As for brakes, we have been spoiled with the new R9. At the front are two 320mm hydraulic discs bitten by top-spec Brembo stylemas and braided lines, while at the rear is a single 220mm hydraulic disc with single piston caliper. There's fancy cornering ABS on board too, which is able to be completely disabled should you wish. Comparing that to the ZX6R, which is equipped with dual 310mm semi-floating discs with Nissan 4-piston calipers up front and a single 220mm disc with single-bore pin-slide aluminium piston at the rear. You do have ABS as standard here too. For brakes, we can confidently say that the R9 is equipped with the larger and better unit. Reviews on the Kawi do note the brakes to be one of the weaker aspects of the bike. Not bad per se, but if you were going to be using this as a serious racer, it's probably going to be one of the first places you'd look to do some work. Now, while this comparison may seem one-sided, there is a big factor coming up which could really shake up the results. But before we discuss that, let's look at the extra goodies you get. On the Yamaha, the notable features include an R1 developed 6-axis IMU, lean-sensitive rider aids including traction control, slide control, and brake control, power modes including 4 track riding modes, launch control, lift control, that up and down quick shifter, engine brake management and back slip regulator, Yamaha ride control with customizable settings, the ABS, 5-inch full color TFT display with connectivity, Y-track, cruise control and speed limiter and adjustable levers. Jeez, what a list. They have jam-packed this thing with a huge rider suite. The Kawi, by comparison, is rather simple, coming with the fully adjustable suspension, ram air mount, assistant slipper clutch, the quick shifter, which is up only, traction control, ABS, Kibs, 4 rider modes, 4.3-inch color TFT display with smartphone connectivity and full LEDs. It is a clear win to the R9 here. The Kawi is not necessarily lacking features besides maybe an IMU, but it is a relatively simple array of electronic aids compared to what you find on the new high-tech Yamaha. This is where the new versus old school mentality really crescendos. Kawasaki are offering the classic supersport experience, where Yamaha are giving you a high-tech whiz-bang machine. And guess what? You'll be paying for it. We come to our final category of price, and here's where we see the Kawasaki finally regain some ground and hold its place in this comparison. The new 2025 Yamaha R9 here in Australia is coming in with a big price of $23,199 right away, compared to the 2025 Kawasaki ZX6R, which starts at $18,057 for the standard 40th anniversary and going up by $500 if you want the KRT trim. That's a difference of over $5,100. The R9 has clearly come out on top in just about every category in this comparison, having a torquier, more usable engine, better brakes, and way more features. But the ZX6 isn't that far behind it. It's also got a really engaging and fun 4-cylinder engine that loves to be thrashed, will handle fantastically, and enough features to keep it up to date. And it is much cheaper. You could use that extra cash to really tweak this thing from a great racer to an incredible one. The R9 wins on paper in the specs sheet comparison. The ZX6R though is still a formidable competitor and the one that I think more people may want to buy thanks to the price. But which one would you have? Would you spend an extra $5K to get the new Yamaha R9, or would you go for the cheaper Kawasaki ZX6R? If I was after a racer for the track, I'd go the Kawi. Let's discuss it down in the comments below, and while you're there, make sure to leave a recommendation for which two bikes you'd like to see go up against each other next. Thanks for watching guys, and till next time, see ya!